Yeah. We'll have to continue. Way to go, Van Halen, Hopper Teacher. Awesome.
That was like the ultimate tune back in junior high.
I wonder what the teacher's going to look like this year.
We always wondered, didn't we?
And we found out in that video.
You know, it is funny.
They
We
probably
did
wouldn't allow that video today, would they?
What was that?
They probably wouldn't allow that video to be made.
No, they wouldn't allow a lot of stuff. Just kind of, I don't know. I mean, you know, Caddyshack, they probably wouldn't even allow you to, you know, they canceled Caddyshack or
an all-time classic.
Or any of the Monty Pythons, like the Life of Brian and
right.
You know,
that state of affairs. What a tragedy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. There's no latitude.
Man, how are things out in San Diego?
Good. Hey, this is episode 151, and everyone, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk.
Yes.
Irreverent.
151. 151. Your rum to be a little stronger.
Yes. We are almost Everclear.
We're almost Everclear.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. We are almost. This is like, you know, reaching a new level here at 151. I mean, if you make it this far in a podcast or a webcast or whatever it is that we are, then, you know, I think it's pretty legendary stuff, you know?
It's legendary. Yes, we actually are legit, you know? Right. I know that you get lots of spam emails and texts and stuff from people saying, hey, I saw you had a podcast. We're experts at podcast deal. We're going to help boost your whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like the same guys who are the SEO, search engine optimization guys.
Yeah.
Then they became the podcast guys.
Yeah, you know, if you think about it, yeah, it's all just a game. It's vapor, you know. I think one of the things that makes us maybe a little bit different is we don't chase the numbers, and we try to grow our audience organically. And oddly, people watch the show. You know,
that's right.
That's like the weirdest thing in the world. And I mean, maybe they listen in for about 5 minutes, but there's some people who just listen to the whole thing. And when we go to conferences and events, I mean, we always bump into people like, you're the IoT Coffee Talk guy.
This is the best show. I mean, this is like the heyday of sitcoms, like in the 70s.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
Yeah.
You get home after school and all the reruns are on, you know, from Star and Gilligan's Island, and now you have IoT Coffee Talk to watch.
There you go.
In many cases, it's more entertaining than maybe even Gilligan's Island. I don't know.
Man, Gilligan's Island, that was a great show. And Gomer Pyle.
Gomer Pyle. Yeah. Hey, Steve.
Ollie.
Look at him.
Wait. Who the hell is that?
Who? Gomer Pyle? Come on, Sergeant Carter. You know, those. I forget everyone's name that I meet these days, right? But I remember those names for some reason. Gomer Pyle, Gilligan, Ginger, Marianne.
Yeah, sure you remember them.
Yeah. So in this day and age, we're probably not allowed to talk about who we liked better, Ginger or Marianne. We'd be canceled.
Yeah. It would be her. It's a her.
Yeah. But hey, what's up in the world of IoT these days? Or do we even talk about IoT that much anymore? It seems like we talk about ChatGPT all the time. Oh, by the way, Steve, you need to wear this.
I'm sorry.
Your problem, man.
Well, I'm out here at Colorado University Boulder doing a 2-day session with all the students and things, and NSF founders and stuff. So I had to look good. And I know I look good in the t-shirt.
Wait, what are you saying? Are you telling me that I don't look good?
No, you look stunning. Dude. You look stunning. I just don't look good.
You know, it's better to look good than to feel good. as they
So,
say.
Steve, is this like where you're going to break the hard truth maybe to some of these PhD
Well,
postdocs?
listen, I'm Rob. I know what you did, and I know what I will do. So there you go.
Tough love.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. So the posters and some of the other stuff that's going on this afternoon, Rob. So I can't wait to see that. But and for everybody in the audience, Rob was the keynote speaker at the fall edition of the event for this. It's an NSF funded center that is specialized on AI, ML, and edge computing in the IoT space. So it's Colorado, Boulder, it's Oregon State University, and Oakland University, are 3 universities. And we have funding from NSF, but also members, Intel, NEC, Ford, Boeing, are paying for the students and the professors to do research projects. And so we get together every 6 months to assign new projects that get voted on by the members and the faculty. So if you don't come with your A game and have a really cool, innovative idea, you're not going to get funded. And what's happened, and Rob and I have experienced this, has been sometimes, and I know you'll all be shocked about this out there in IoT coffee talk land, but one of the things is that these professors never get out into the real world. Come to a trade show or listen to Rob and you speak about various subjects. And so when students come to them with ideas for project work, one of the things is that they don't know that other companies have already been deploying this, or other companies competing against them. And so that's where I get to the point of where I'm the bad cop, because I'm turning around trying to tell these kids.
Quite literally.
Literally. And I'll give you an example. Last night, I was looking at one of the posters by this young lady, very smart, intelligent PhD student from Oakland University. And it was about IoT, smart home technology, and the relationship of Amazon to it. And I'm like going, girl, this is already done. You might as well take the poster and of course I'm breaking her heart and breaking her thought process.
I know.
But you got to do these things because these students have got to get out into the real world. And so listen, I love doing it. It's a give back kind of thing. I mean, it's from my standpoint. But I'd love to get I got Rob involved. I'd love to get you, Leonard, involved in this because
oh my God, that would be a disaster.
Thing. It's a really cool thing.
No, I'd love to. Actually, now that I've listened to what you've just said and, listened to the stuff that you guys have done, which I think is great. I think IoT Coffee Talk should be just standard curriculum material for any engineering university. I mean, quite honestly, and B school, I mean, Dirty Laundry is like revolutionary. Battlestar Galactica. I mean, come on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We've already talked about stuff that now people are talking about. We talked about trust at the beginning. Now everyone's talking about trust. Before it was about security. And then, and so, I mean, it might sound funny, but it's true. There's a lot of stuff.
What Steve's looking like here? He's talking about being the bad cop. They're going to do their pitches, and he's kind of in Shark Tank. He looks like Mr. Wonderful, I think.
But Rob, I did not put in
bad lighting.
FTX. I've never put it in. Okay.
Oh. Good. Yeah, Kevin O'Leary there, drummer.
Yeah, thanks. But Leonard, you brought up ChatGPT. There are at least 5 projects here that are IoT and ChatGPT related. It's incredible.
I was surprised. Yeah.
I wonder how they're using it.
In the baseline stuff, the programming, using it for evaluation of code, evaluation of certain aspects of AI and IoT. So, the basic use cases that you would expect.
I have a prediction. By the end of 2023, every company will have somehow integrated GPT into their product, whether it makes sense or not. They'll just bolt it on.
Is that before or after the U.S. government sponsored moratorium on ChatGPT for 6 months?
It's no, that's not going to happen. I think what's happening is what you're seeing in Europe, what you're seeing in China. I mean, China is flat, banned, I think, Chat GPT. That being separate from, GPT X, right? I mean, but the applications they're banning, and I think especially the public ones. So, my whole take on it is this stuff is all still like super R&D, right? If you go to like the NVIDIA conference and you listen to what the researchers and the product development guys are talking about, it's still pretty green stuff. It's just somebody decided, hey, we're going to make it public and we're going to try to monetize it, right? And that, I think, that's the genie that's out of the bottle now, and it's going to get like a crazy reaction. It's starting to. Now, that being said, some of the more, it's technology. It has potential. It has uses today that it's probably useful for. But I think it's going to be useful for in more of like silos versus the public. I think controlled and controlled environments, if you will, right? Because you still have to test the thing. You have to figure out whether it really works, it's valuable, and then maintain that. Just like any data store or application, right? You have to maintain the integrity of the data. Also, you have to constantly monitor the outputs to make sure, the thing isn't like it isn't crap in and then exponentially crappy crap on the other side. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't think any of those basic rules change, but putting this stuff out in the public, that's an entirely, because there's a lot of crap out there. I think that's what people are really afraid of. It's the public applications where you have to scratch your head wondering, okay, what is the good that can come out of that, given, how much junk is out there, how much bad data. So
Yep.
Anyway.
Leonard, don't you believe, when you hear insert name of country saying, oh, we're banning it, we're not using it, I don't believe that for a second. I think there's a difference between what you broadcast to the world and what researchers and military intelligence folks and a lot of other people scurrying as fast as they can to get an edge and get ahead using this technology. Because that's when we hear about doing a pause, the counter to that is, I guarantee you, these other governments are adversary competitors. They're not pausing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And this is where there's, where we have a problem where when we call everything technology, we confuse ourselves. There's a difference between the technology and the application. Maybe pausing the applications, maybe, because you can actually target specific companies that are going off and creating these public applications, right? But the research into technology, this stuff has not, this stuff has been in the works for years, right? The only real difference we're looking at here at the moment is companies like NVIDIA that have basically take AI computing with the GPU to a pretty insane level, right? And it's brought the economics and the realm of possibilities down to a level where a company like Google and Microsoft can start maybe doing something with it, with their products. Now, there's still a lot of questions, right? Because they're just like, I don't know, it's kind of creepy. They're just like you were saying, they're bolting it on to everything and not answering a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
That enterprises, CIOs should be very, very concerned about.
Yeah, NVIDIA has certainly been a big beneficiary of all this stuff.
Yeah.
They've been a beneficiary for quite some time around helping. And as I think I read, OpenAI used 10,000 NVIDIA GPUs to accelerate the training of their models for GPT-4. And so it works, but and so it's proven that NVIDIA's hardware really makes a dramatic difference in training these AI models versus just running it against your normal CPU, which I guess is obvious. We already knew that stuff. Why did I say that? It's just not for video games anymore. It's not for Super Mario Brothers. It's for training giant, massive models.
Yeah. Right. So the technology, the enablement is pretty remarkable. But the question is what are the let me choose my words carefully here. What are the safer or safe applications, right, where the technology is actually ready? Because it is potentially powerful, but I think it's powerful in how much trust we put into these things, because it's not intrinsically trustworthy.
I'm using it every week as a research assistant, and I'm checking its work, and you know what? It helps me create content, and so so that's what I'm using it for. I don't use it blindly. I definitely make sure there's not any weird flags in there, but like I think we've talked about this before. When you're doing research, and there's stuff you already know, the power of our intelligence and really knowing our stuff is we know how to do the right prompts, right? Yeah. We know what we're talking about. We're just trying to get extra details about there's stuff off the top of the head. There's stuff we normally search the web. We research books and the internet. And so I certainly using ChatGPT to help me be a researcher that's sitting next to me. It's super cool.
We're doing the same. We're doing the same thing for even with our clients. But I think I said this before. I don't want to be replaced, right? So how far do you take telling everybody that you're using it for certain things? And then you start looking at it for coding. I got guys that are doing it and getting 70% of the code done by chat. Does that mean you're going to cut people? So so I think there's other ramifications that come from this thing. Because my wife, as I told you, she's got a really large digital marketing agency. We've experimented and put stuff into chat and said, build me a campaign around this, and it comes out and shoots it out. So she goes, well, does that mean my company's obsolete? Like who's So you start to look at the ramifications of it from an economic standpoint. And a business environment. That has to be taken into consideration because, $20 a month is not going to make them rich, but OpenAI is, well funded.
Yeah. Going back to Rob's comment about the research stuff, I've tried using it for research. It doesn't work for me. I've asked it to do stuff, but I guess the thing is I don't. The stuff that I would need it for, it's just not good for it. Do you know what I'm saying? And so basic research, it'll probably, it's actually hasn't really been even proven really good at that for me. I'm sorry, guys. It comes up with, false positives. It makes stuff up, and then it creates more work for me. I can just get that kind of random, randomness just from a Google search. And so I found that it doesn't really, it doesn't differentiate itself so much. So to me, what that says is that in terms of a productivity uplift, I don't think it has that kind of potential that everyone's talking about. Again, I'm not saying that it can't be valuable. I think it can enhance, but that enhancement is not going to be what some of these hyped, these people who are pumping the hype are saying. I think there's a flip side, the negative side, where it actually creates more work because you have to validate. Because, one of the things you have to do, right, Rob, is you have to validate the outputs. You can't just assume that this it just did the work for you. But the problem is that when people start to trust that it can do that, whether it can or not, that's the problem. And when we get, again, I just go back to what I've already said for weeks now, we will succumb to the convenience, and it's because we're friggin' lazy.
We're lazy.
Yeah. And we know there's people who know people are careless, they're lazy, they won't check, they'll just believe. right?
Well, yeah, and I'll go
At every single level, whether it's fake news stuff, spamming, it's science, all of it. No one's going to check it.
Yeah,
Rob, too much crap being generated, and humans can't validate it. We can't apply our judgment. We can't debate about it. We can't distill and refine. Where we find the sort of the center point of truth and fact. It's just going to get. I just don't see how, unless you have an AI that helps you do that. But then the problem is the AI, these generative AI engines, it's just not the way that they work. They don't have judgment.
They don't have our knowledge. So example is
experience.
Exactly. Yeah. I did a competitive analysis, and I said, okay, let me see how far these guys can take us. And so I did it, but it basically came out to if Leonard, you put into Google, give me the top 10 asset tracker companies in the United States by revenue or by something like that. That's what chat gave me. But it didn't give me all the innovative companies that have really cool new technology that are going to be competitors of these guys over the next year. That came from our company's knowledge and experience in the industry for 30 years, right? So you're 100% correct. I mean, it just, it takes you some far, but if you're still having to go line by line by line by line to make sure that, you're still saying the right thing to your client.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
I don't think that changes at all. Rob, changing subjects. Congratulations. Very cool that you got the award. That's
Thank
very
you.
cool.
Yeah.
But as I said in my post, now we got to figure out how to sell this shit.
Yes.
No, you know what, dude? I think you should
need to put our heads together.
Wine industry.
Yes. It's one thing to be a geek in the closet, Rob. It's a second thing to freaking make the geek money.
Yes. You're going to help me with that.
Yes, I am. I am.
It's like, here is this product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. I'm trying to make it Forrest Gump simple for, that's the goal. Make it easy. It does, I'd hate to ever try to compare it to any other IoT platform out there because it's a fraction. But
there's only 650 of them, Rob. Don't start.
The platform is just dumb, simple, trying to be as simple-minded as I am. And
exactly.
Whatever that means. So, yeah.
Right,
guys, I got to bounce. I got to go back on stage in a couple minutes. So I wanted to just hop on and say hello.
Cool. Glad you dropped in, dude.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Have fun.
Right. Take care. Change your shirt. No, I'm just kidding. So, hey.
Yeah. What? Whoa, wait a second. You got it.
Yeah.
Is that the new one?
This is the Samsung S23 Ultra. Yeah. So Samsung gave me what do they call it? Friggin', a loaner.
For you to test
to check it out. So I have it for 60 days. So I'm gonna check it out. And they also got me this, which is the Book 3.
Yeah, that's
Ultra.
Very thin.
Yeah, and pretty big.
Yeah, how big is it? A 15 or 16-inch screen or something?
Yeah, it's a 16-inch screen, and man, I mean, I like it. The design is awesome. I mean, it is
awesome.
Very Apple-y feel to it.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit thinner than my 8-year-old MacBook Pro.
Right.
But so far I haven't really set it up yet. I got it yesterday.
Okay.
And
that's fun. So you're gonna be a product reviewer.
Sort of. Yeah, but I'm not gonna be talking about, this thing has a slightly better,
right.
In undistinguishable edge over XYZ phone. It's like, look, these things, all of them are pretty damn good.
They're all really good.
Good enough for most people, except for maybe a few people like my wife, who are real huge sticklers for the camera, right? But even then, it doesn't have to be a good camera. I was having this conversation with my wife yesterday, and it was funny. She says that because I told her, look, I think this camera actually takes a better picture consistently. It's more reflective of what I actually see. And she goes, I don't like that. I was like, why? I was like, I want it to make me happy. I went, what is that supposed to mean? It's like, this one shows all my wrinkles. And oh, okay.
Camera's too good.
Yeah, it's too good. They're too good, and we're actually using filters and AI. Hey, Marc, what's up, man? To basically dumb down.
Well, you know what you should do is
fun.
maybe like next week when we do coffee talk, you should put the Samsung phone on a tripod and use it to stream yourself, do live video and audio to see how well it does.
I really suck at this.
I remember watching the launch thing that you were at, and that Ridley Scott, they made a which you've seen them do with the iPhone as well.
Yeah.
And it looked great. I mean, I think it's a great. You know what? You're right. They're so good now. Yeah. These top cameras, it's hard to distinguish between them. They're so good.
Yeah. They're. It's just, and that's not really what matters. So what I'm going to really be looking at is, why does the non-Apple universe struggle so much, right? What are those bridges that need to be created across the fragmented universe to have these things actually gel together in a way where they're actually competitive against Apple? And it's a big problem.
I think part of I'm obviously have all kinds of pundits that say, why do all these Android devices struggle against the iPhone? On the one hand, on one level, they don't struggle. They outsell the iPhone 1 billion to 1. Yeah. And most people on the planet are using Android devices. So there's that way to look at it. But as far as the ultra premium, the experience, you're right. Android struggles. I think part of it is sometimes it feels like it's a Frankenstein monster because you have an OEM, they take the base Android OS from Google, and then they put their stuff on it. Yeah. And sometimes there's the Google version, same version of the stuff that they put on it, like the mail and calendar and a million other things. No. And it seems disjointed, or Apple, it is like, this is what it is. It's all beautiful, fluid. It's all from, that's what you get when you have a closed garden type thing, a walled garden like you have with Apple. You get the best possible experience because they control everything end to end.
Yeah.
Whereas
they make the hardware, they make the software for a specific hardware. So there is no chance that can be improved.
Right.
I would compare Android with the Microsoft Windows.
I agree. It's closer to Microsoft. You're right. That's exactly right.
So wait until my piece comes out. My research, because I've been looking at this for quite some time. So
you know what? Well, I hear people say,
basically, yeah.
A lot of people will say, if they remember the old days, the earlier days of Android, some people say, I just want a stock Android device. Just all Google. I don't want, pick your OEM. I don't want your stuff.
Yeah. I don't want your bloatware. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Google prior to the Pixel stuff, remember they had, what did they call it? It started with an M. Anyway, it was trying to, different OEMs would make it, either Samsung or HTC, they'd make a stock thing, Anyway, I'm just rambling.
No, you're not. You're actually making a really good point, because that's exactly the same problem that the Windows world had. Remember, they still do it. Look at all the Dell crap that they stick on there, the HP stuff.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same problem.
We talk about, in the old days, getting a PC, it's like all this bloatware that the OEM added to it. Whether it's Dell or HP, or remember, did you used to buy Sony laptops? They used to make these Sony Bio laptops with carbon fiber lids that were really thin, but they would all, as part of their value prop, actually, let's not call it a value prop, as far as them making money, they got paid by all these software vendors to preload bloatware. And then, so that's when we think about these different Android devices from different OEMs. They come loaded with stuff that maybe you don't want. Maybe you want stock Google stuff. And so therein
It's a
lies
business model probably for them as well.
Yeah. And so you get the elegant, simple experience with iPhone, and you get Frankenstein with everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
He's like,
do you know what? It's quite interesting that you should say that, right? Because I remember buying laptops and then having to delete all of the crap that I didn't want on there. The bad antivirus stuff, the stuff that you had the free trials with, and that you didn't actually want. You wanted kind of like the open source versions or the stuff that actually weren't floating at the computer or hogging RAM, etc. Your comment on Apple, and I know you're an Apple fan, I like it, but a lot of the utilities I never use. I don't want like the guitar program. I don't want a load of other stuff on by default.
You can delete it.
I know you can delete it, but it's like by default, and it's just like I'd rather it wasn't, right?
No, you have to download GarageBand and
GarageBand is included.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's included. Okay. But yesterday I deleted.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
GarageBand is included.
But it's a lot easier to delete.
I don't want you guys to think I'm an Apple fanboy because I always want Android to succeed. Because I came from the world of Windows Mobile, where it was the most customizable device ever. You could download for it and run on all this hardware. And Android followed the same model as Windows Mobile did, where you could hack it, you could do all kinds of crazy stuff. Whereas iPhone was just, here's this lockdown device. This is what you get, unless you remember jailbreaking was a thing in the early days.
Yeah. You can still jailbreak them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't hear about jailbreaking as much anymore. But
it's just not worth it, you know?
Yeah.
No, you're making a great point, man. But the thing is that building devices and stuff for the developers, if you do that, you're going to dramatically limit your market. The consumer doesn't care about any of that stuff. They just they care about what surfaces on the glass of the device and how it interacts in it. And Apple knows that, knew that, and they friggin' crush it. I'm sorry. I mean, everyone else can whine all day. You just have to study this company with a very objective lens. And a lot of people have colored lenses about when they look at Apple. They go, oh, their valuation is XYZ. Are they really worth that much? It's like, look, that doesn't matter. You have to wonder why a company on a consistent basis can take anywhere from 75 to like 90% of the profit share of the industry, right? Their industry with a small market share.
Why do they do that? Because they followed a simple sentence that Steve Jobs said: start with the customer experience first and work your way back to the technology.
Yeah.
All these other companies go out there and they just build this technology and they try to find a way to sell it or cram it a square peg in a round hole, and that's the wrong way to do it. Apple started,
but he also said that when the color is the feature of the product, innovation is dead. And now I only see ads about iPhone yellow or something like that, or say hello to yellow or something like that. Like,
it's because Steve Jobs is dead. He's rolling over in his grave every time he sees like that.
What the fuck?
I bet you that was a recommendation from ChatGPT.
But wasn't Steve Jobs around when the Apple Mac came out with the different casings on the back? And wasn't one of the big features around that was that they were different colors?
Yeah, that was Johnny.
I don't know if this was the last one without him or the first with him. I'm not 100% sure.
First, the iMac.
But what I heard
the iMac,
is that
that's right, yeah.
It had that weird shape because he said that he wanted to have the right to throw the computer through the window. And so he needed like a special place to grab the
that's right.
computer.
There's a handle on the back that you could.
Okay.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know.
Such craziness, but lots of good wisdom there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I clearly start with the outcome, start with the customer experience, work your way back. What do we see in IoT? People build tech and try to go the opposite way and try to find a problem to solve.
Yeah.
But actually, if you think about it, the most innovative thing that he did basically was, and I think this was that was Slack, because he didn't invest on, or he didn't bet on this, but it was the App Store. The App Store changed everything. So no Windows Phone, no BlackBerry, no Nokia had like a really easy App Store for developers to apply innovation on the top of the product. And I think this was like the most innovative thing that they introduced.
Well, I don't think that was Steve's idea. It might have been. No,
I think he was against it.
Yeah, I think he was against it, and it might have been. I read somewhere that it was, friggin' Mr. Interwebs, Al Gore's idea.
Al Gore?
Right.
Yeah.
I doubt it was Al. There's funny because he's been on
Something like
he's
that.
the
I don't know.
person on their Apple's board of directors.
Yeah,
He knows absolutely nothing about this.
I know. Well, I think they, maybe sometimes they select board members because they're easily influenced, because they don't know, and you can convince them. You know what I'm saying? It's when you have like a board with a bunch of people with divergent ideas that really know what the hell they're talking about, that could be a pretty tough board to deal with, It's like you have a bunch of
So Tom, what's
dull
going
people,
on?
then it's manipulable people, then that might be a better situation. I don't know.
IoT with Tom White.
Yeah.
Everything's good. Yeah, everything's good. Busy, lots going on. I think we just launched a new season of the podcast as well. So we've got some episodes coming out. That's pretty cool. So some good people, some interesting stuff lined up. Some interesting guys, and so everything's pretty good, to be honest with you. Just busy, getting ready to go to Florida, getting that move sorted, which is good. And it's raining here constantly, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, life's good. I was just thinking about that App Store comment that Marc made. Actually, it got me thinking when you said it was like one of the great things. If you think about Airbnb and all of these businesses that set up that own no property, I think it inspired a lot of these business models, didn't it? Right? Look at Uber, look at these companies.
Oh yeah.
It's really quite something. It's just sad that it's not good for the developers. I mean, how much Apple take? Is it 33% or something like that?
No, I don't think that's true. If you go and you ask anybody in the Apple developer developers, mobile app developers, they tell you exactly the opposite, especially gaming. Oh, come on. Compared to Android, this has been the thing for a very, very from the beginning. Apple is a much better developer platform than anything else out there. So that is false.
No, I meant from. Do you mean like Xcode and stuff like that, or actually developing it, or
making money? Making money. I know a lot of people in Hollywood who are mobile developers. They're producers for games in Hollywood, and they will tell you there's no comparison.
Oh, really?
None of them will tell you Android universe is better for developers. No one.
No, you're right. So
wow.
Go back in time, just the launch of the first App Store. Prior to that, no App Store. No. People were trying to sell things on different websites. I remember, so in the early days of Windows Mobile, there were all these websites where, and for BlackBerry as well. I'm trying to remember the names of them. You know what? I used to sell a bunch of different apps for Windows mobile devices in the early 2000s before I joined Microsoft, and I was making about $400 a month with about 3 or 4 different apps that what was the name of the Handango? Handango was the name of one of the websites, and they sold Windows Mobile and BlackBerry apps. But it was disjointed, it was fragmented. It was like, how do I get my app on the phone? And so the iPhone coming up with a built-in app store to seamlessly deliver apps and give a sales channel to developers who before were struggling.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yes, they take 30%, but it created an explosion because overnight we saw these app development millionaires, talk about it. I knew guys that I worked with at Microsoft.
Oh my God.
I watched them quit Microsoft because they were making so much more money building apps with the iPhone. They're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, when I was at UST Global, I used to run the mobile development group. I helped develop it. There is no comparison. I don't care what people say. You're just full of crap. You've never been there from the beginning with when iOS and Android were starting to become a thing, and working with enterprises to figure out, okay, well, how do we evolve and advance our companies using these technologies, but how do we develop apps, right?
Yeah.
And then, in the gaming world, there is no question Apple is where you get paid. I mean, go and ask anybody in Hollywood that does a game development for any of the brands. They'll tell you, yeah, it's Apple, hands down. I don't know where this myth comes from. And here's the thing with what Rob just said. People do forget. 30% whatever fee. They don't collect that on everything, right? The thing is that the software business, the gross margins, if you're a mature software business, is about 90 to 85% gross margin, right? But when you look at their operating margin, it ends up being something like 40 to, it could be 50% if they're really a well-running organization. That difference is SG&A. That's the cost of doing business, handling, building your channels, distributing, marketing, and all that stuff. That's a hell of a lot more than 30%. And this is what people don't know, because they don't know software business model and how it's evolved through these marketplaces and the economics, the benefits that developers have gotten. And so, a lot of these developers who are whining are shooting themselves in the foot, and they're not looking after their customers. They're looking after themselves. But going back to what we've just said before, the reason why a lot of these developer-centric platforms can't compete with Apple is because they focus on the developer instead of the user, and that's twisted. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, and that's the thing that a lot of tech industry people don't get. I mean, go around and ask how people think about what Apple does with the 30%, and you realize, you don't really know anything about the software industry and how it's evolved and what it actually costs. Because we had HTML5. You can go off and build your own friggin' web app, and with all the cloud gaming crap, build it on your own. Stop whining about the 30%. You can build those apps and then go straight through Safari, and then do whatever the hell you want to do. Go use your own payment system. Don't use anything Apple. You can still deliver that through an iPhone.
I feel like you're ranting, Leonard.
I am.
Okay.
And how can we move that economics to the IoT?
We always rant.
That's a great question, Marc.
See?
Good question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. How do we
Rants lead to something.
Successful magic thing that's happening there to IoT? That's a great question. And maybe that's a good way to think about it. Because maybe we're all fragmented, and maybe we're all over the map. And there's lots of great technology, but it didn't matter. It's all over everywhere. It's scattered. Pulling all the love and that magic into one store, because if nothing else, you were talking about SG&A and everything, Leonard. you got to pay. If you didn't have the App Store, you were paying for your website, your marketing, your sales channels, all that kind of stuff. That costs so much money. If you eliminated most of that, and your sales channel was the App Store, and the App Store was great at finding visibility, finding you, and stuff like that, and all the content. How do we do that for IoT? How do we find solutions in IoT through some kind of marketplace without creating yet another marketplace on the web somewhere, which is probably what we'd be inclined to do.
Yeah.
No, and even furthermore, how this is going to be adopted and by the hardware manufacturers. If it's even hard for them to certify for Apple and get the Apple chips, etc., and how they are going to retrofit.
Yeah.
Well, probably this is not needed, as on the mobile phones it was not needed, but
yeah,
how it's gonna.
Yeah. Well, luckily, Marc is a great developer, and he's going to build a marketplace.
Yeah.
I think it all starts with the audience, right? I mean, Leonard, you're right. Thinking about it, you'd happily pay 30% because 70% of nothing. 70% of something is better than 100% of nothing, right?
Yeah.
And if someone, and Marc, to answer your question, how do we create that variety? Well, I guess that's $1 million question, but I think it starts with the audience. We need the audience, and we build it around the audience first of all. But where are all those people congregating? And if they're not congregating somewhere, then we need to bring them together somehow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's back to what we talk about. Stop saying IoT all along, because that's like saying I have an internet platform.
Yeah.
And so, right? It's customers have problems to solve, and many of those problems
I haven't heard that.
There's some kind of connectivity, moving data from something to analyzing it, and there's a million use cases. How do you pull all those use cases instead of just saying we got IoT? How do you say we've got the water treatment problem and the pick up the trash problem and the whatever building management, energy management problem to solve here, and here's where you do it, and do it for the benefit of everyone. Woo! Because obviously different players in the market want to win, and so you go to their website and they probably have something like that, as long as you're using their technology, right?
Yeah. I think it just boils down to rebalancing the community from having such a focus on building tools and stuff to actually building stuff, taking the knowledge that they have about the complexity and just actually building something for a customer and solving problems. I mean, that just sounds so generic and easy, but it's just people, they don't do it. There's just a ton of people that are still building widgets and tools, and maybe there should only be a few of them that are really good at that stuff, and the rest just take a lot of the experience of dealing with heterogeneous technologies in their fight to have their own tool become successful, or kind of become a signal above the noise. Take that and then just become an SI, build stuff, solve problems, instead of talking about tools all the time and technologies and protocols and friggin' standards and blah blah blah. Going back to what we were saying before about what Steve Jobs saw, that the rest of the tech community at the time didn't see, is that it's all about the customer. But it's not that simple. It's not about starting from the customer experience. Doesn't mean that you're listening to the customer. You know something more that's even more valuable, and you can deliver on that. And not everyone can do it. Because what a lot of people do is they go off and do surveys and they ask the customer, well, what do you want? And that all ends up being non-differentiated and sometimes even wrong. It steers you in the wrong direction. Which is why I'm doing this research with this, because these guys all of them have problem. And these guys, right? Because the dialogue and the mindset is twisted, right? And so we get into this vicious cycle of nonsense that keeps the community where it is.
just to go off the rails here, speaking of holding up that laptop, you know, your good friends over at Futurum obviously posting that chart about how all the PC makers just fell off a cliff last quarter, like collapsed, like sales of laptops, and Apple was the worst, which was that was really, you know, is this the post-COVID hangover?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what?
They made the record, right? The sales record forever, right? That was COVID. So welcome to the reality. But on the other hand, I think Apple just innovate too fast, right? On laptops, or the M1s were not good enough.
No,
why the M1s and M2s came so close?
Yeah, I saw that.
No,
I've got an M1.
Yeah.
I've got an M1 Max. I was a bit annoyed when the M2s came out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
And is it good? Works good? Or
yeah, it's really good. I mean, Apple, ever since they started to build on Unix and started to make their own hardware recently, it's great. It's really good. But you know, we weren't meant to be using laptops now, right? It was all meant to be kind of holograms and stuff. You know, I thought laptops were dying. You know, so.
Yeah, you know, I was pretty pissed off too because I bought the Studio, which is butt ass expensive, and then they come out with the M2 Pro with the Mac Mini, and it's like 1/3 the price. I was like,
there's always that.
But that's the one good thing is that they hold good residual value, though, right?
Yeah.
So Apple hardware. It's just miraculous. I sold an Apple laptop. I think I bought it in UK money for like £1,800 and sold it 5 years later for £600. Like, try doing that with a Lenovo. You know, try doing that with a Dell or a HP.
Yeah,
or an Acer.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
or a Gateway. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Gateway.
Oh,
the cow.
God. That's a blast.
Yeah, the cow. Yeah.
But you know, one of the things nobody looks at are the iPad numbers, which is funny because last quarter, Macs were down, but that dip in Mac sales was offset by iPad sales. So you know, you gotta look at the big picture. You know what I'm saying?
We are.
You have to look at the big picture. You can freak out about the one segment of a company's portfolio, but
I guarantee you, all those companies are freaking out right now.
Oh yeah, they're totally freaking out, and it's not good news, right? Definitely not good news. Regardless.
Actually, now that you say this for the iPad, I was thinking on changing my laptop for an iPad. So first of all, it's less weight. So it's like half of the weight of a laptop. Yeah. The battery, it's double or even more. Yeah. Screen, the display is exactly the same. You just need a Bluetooth keyboard.
Yeah.
And then you just need some virtual machines somewhere, and you can do everything.
Yeah.
Isn't the OS now in the iPad? Isn't it? Isn't it all merging into the same platform? Isn't it?
No, that sucks. The OS sucks for work, but I mean, if you have some virtual machines somewhere with Linux, you just access to the virtual machines and do everything that you need.
Yeah,
and then even the charger weighs nothing compared with a laptop charger. So I'm thinking if that's a good solution for
I've been really happy with that Logitech whatever touch. They updated it for the new Gen 10 iPad, you know, kind of hugs around there and has the backlit keyboard, and it's no longer a Bluetooth keyboard because there's now connectors on the bottom of the iPad, so it snaps in. It's backlit, and
what's that?
I'm happy.
Yeah, so I got this. The guys at Qualcomm gave me this. This is the X13S from Lenovo, and it sports the Snapdragon 8CX. It's kind of cool. There's compromises definitely, right? It doesn't run all the software, mostly games, but most of the productivity stuff you can do. It's becoming more tablet-like, more mobile. And I think that's one of the good things that Apple's doing is actually influencing everyone to actually converge the ultra portable laptops with the tablet, right? And you know, a lot of people have historically poo-pooed on the iPad, going, "Why do you even have that? Why don't you do a 2-in-1? Blah blah blah." That's probably been the most instrumental thing they've come out with. It's just that people don't realize that. You know, it has this design innovation gravity on the industry that I think is far underappreciated, you know, but I only travel with an iPad now because it does most of the stuff I need. But what you're talking about, Marc, you know, basically using something like TeamViewer to you know, just have basically have a you know, a virtual desktop on your iPad. It works great, you know.
Yeah.
And I was doing that, geez, 7 years ago, dude. Isn't that scary? 7 years ago. That's the only reason why I know TeamViewer, because I was using TeamViewer to do exactly that. So people have, here's the other problem. You have a lot of pundits who basically shit all over something without even trying. You know what I'm saying? And so what they said is, this is just a toy, just a toy. And I've been writing for a long time. It's like, this is not a friggin' toy. You can do a lot of stuff with it, you know, but it took a while for it to become a laptop replacement for me. But dude, you want to talk about killing it with video rendering? Oh my God, the thing is a friggin' beast. I have no idea how, you know, and it's a 3-year-old iPad Pro. It still friggin' kills. You know what I'm saying? And it's not, it's you know, yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
I think the big thing will come in when you know, inputting text into the device becomes easier, right? So if you look at like the Surface Pro, I mean, that's basically a tablet with a keyboard, isn't it? Right. So it's kind of like a hybrid between an iPad and a laptop. I still like a QWERTY keyboard. I'm quickest and at home typing as opposed to diction, and I never really use it because it's not quite right, but it's getting there soon. And I think the tablet, I think, will become more well used compared to the laptop when the inputting of the data becomes a lot easier, robust, and reliable. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I think people still have trouble talking to machines. I mean, I'm not really good at talking with Siri or
humans.
Google. Yeah. You know, so is Rob?
But it can't be that far though, right? You know, with ChatGPT and some of the advancements in NLP, etc. It can't be that far to actually be pretty good. But you're right. You know, I use Siri for notes and reminders, and it gets the most basic things wrong. So, but we can't be too far away from that happening. And if you think from a kind of RSI perspective, everyone knows someone, you know, with repetitive strain injury from either coding or typing for too long. So it's a bit, if you think about it, it's a bit old fashioned, right, to type stuff into a keyboard. Because I think, if memory serves me right, that's why QWERTY came about, wasn't it? Because the original typewriters were typing too quickly, and so they had to change the layout to stop the typewriters from making mistakes on the page, right? And I think that's originally why the QWERTY keyboard came about.
You're right. Yeah. QWERTY was designed to slow you down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yes. Search for a Dvorak keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're so smart and knowledgeable. It's amazing.
You know.
How do you know all this stuff? Okay. Well, looks like that's the end of episode 151. That's 151.
Nice.
Yeah.
151 when you want strong rum.
Yeah. Strongest rum. Yeah. So, who wants to take
Tom, when are you gonna arrive in Florida, man?
So it should be. Well, we're planning for June, but it might be a couple more months. It's all visa pending. But I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm deciding what car to buy, but it's going to be big. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. It's a great place. It's a great country, and yeah, it's overdue.
Yeah, it'll be fun to come down and visit you.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're all welcome.
Hang out on the beach.
Come down to the swamp. I'll be wrestling a gator somewhere, probably.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, guys, who wants to take us out? No volunteers? Okay.
Marc wants to take us out.
Yeah, do it in Spanish.
Yes, good idea.
Catalan.
Catalan. Yes, are you sure? I don't know what to say. So I give it to you. I give the honors to you, please.
Okay, to our IoT Coffee Talk listeners who got this far, as we always say, holy crap. Thank you. We appreciate your attention.
Gracias.
Interest, yeah. And remember to like, subscribe, and share. And most importantly, comment. We want to know what you think. And you know, we don't care if you disagree with us. That's fine. That's even better. Let's get into like a argument.
Is anyone checking the comments on YouTube from the videos or?
No, not really.
But please,
they're not going to comment.
Don't stop doing this.
Yeah. But we will see you next week, and remember to subscribe. We're at www.iotcoffeetalk.com. Also, check out our charity, which is Elevate Our Kids at www.elevateourkids.org. And you can buy a t-shirt, and it will help a kid K through 12 get a laptop and connectivity, help us bridge the digital divide. And we will see you next week. Take care.